Okay, welcome to part 2 of calendaring. I'm going to show you how to put an email onto your calendar and also how to share a calendar and accept a calendar. Let's just do a review. One of the best things that I like to do is always open up my calendar in a separate window. I'm going to right click on that calendar and say open in a new window. Once I have two windows separate, if I wanted an email, let's say a person gave me an email that I needed to work on by next Tuesday, or they said, let's get together next Tuesday. I could grab hold of the email and just drag it over here onto my calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and make my windows a little bit smaller here and pretend that this one I needed to handle on Tuesday. So I'm going to grab hold of it and just drag it over. You'll see that little plus sign, meaning plus. It's going to add it onto my calendar. And so this will now be added on, and I can change the time. It says Wednesday at 9 o'clock, 10 to 10:30, and if I like that time, all I have to do is just save and close, and notice that that is now a calendar event. And the beauty of it is it will give me all the information that that person sent me in the email. So that will be a good reminder of what I need to do. Okay, the other thing I want to talk to you about is shared calendars. You'll notice that I have a lot of different calendars here, and some of these people have shared with me. Some of them I've created and shared with other people. So if I click on a shared calendar, for example, here's my husband's. His will pop up. It will be in a different color, and all of the events that are on his calendar will be in green, as that's his next to his name, and mine will be in blue. Notice I can click on whichever one to bring one to the front and one to the back, so they're brighter colors. You'll also notice these little arrows here, and if I click on the arrow, it will no longer be in overlay mode. They'll be side by side instead. Now I can drag items over from his calendar to mine, so if this is a particular item that I need to put onto my calendar, I can just grab hold of it and drag it over, and it will automatically be added onto my calendar. So if I wanted to add this one on, I can drag it over, and it goes on in the exact time. Even if I try to drag it someplace else, it will go in the right place on my calendar. So that's one way to transfer items. Now I can't put anything on his calendar unless he gave me permissions to add things onto his calendar. You know, don't forget your wife's birthday or whatever, but I don't think I have rights and permissions to put something on his calendar, and I don't want to do that anyway. So we can look at these calendars in overview mode or side by side. So let's bring up another one. Now I have 3 calendars, and I have overlaid them all on top of each other, and I can put them side by side instead. So how do I get these group calendar or these shared calendars, and how do I even make a new one for sharing? So in 2010, you can add groups, and you're going to see that this is a grouping all by itself, and there are some calendars underneath here. And here are my shared calendars. They're in a separate group. So if I wanted a calendar just underneath my main calendar, I would click on calendar and just say new calendar. If I wanted a whole new group, I could click on my heading and say new calendar group. And I could call this trainings or something like that. Once I have this trainings, then I can add calendars to that particular group. So I could right click on trainings and just say new calendar. And click OK. And you'll notice that I have new calendars created that way, and I can share those calendars. The other thing I could do is just share my main calendar if I wanted. Any one of these calendars, I can right click on it, and then I pull down to share. Now if share is not showing, I need to make sure I have a check mark in that one calendar and the one calendar only. And then I will be able to share the calendar. And I can put who I want to share that calendar with. And then I click send. Now right here, you can also put a request to view the other person's calendar. So if I wanted to exchange calendars so we can both see our own, I could put a check mark here and she would get a request then to share her calendar. And I would click send, and pretty soon Beth Thomas would get an email saying someone has shared the calendar, and as soon as you accept that, you'll see that calendar show up over here in your calendars, and say no. Once I've shared a calendar with someone, I want to come down here then under share, right click on there and go to share and go to permissions, because I can change permissions on each person. For example, on my main calendar, Elle Moldenauer, the secretary in her office, can see my full details. She can edit everything. She can create items on my calendar, and all the folders are visible. Other people, like my husband, is a reviewer only. He can see full details, but he can't edit anything. He can't add items. He can't delete anything off my calendar, but he can see everything on my calendar. And you can see the same thing with James Krippus, could see everything but couldn't add anything. So as soon as you have someone in here, you can change their items by pulling down here and giving them different editing options. And you can customize this. You can see that Elle is custom, so I put her somewhere in between. Unchecked some of these and checked my own, and then it will say custom next to that person. Or you can choose one of these presets and pay attention to what it says they can do to your calendar. Okay, so that's how you set permissions once you have invited someone. Now I'm going to take a look at my email because I think Beth Thomas sent me an invite to a calendar. Let's see what that looks like. Here's what it looks like, a practice study group calendar. I can accept this calendar, or I can decline the calendar invitation. So if I accept, I can either send a response now, not send a response, or decline. I can edit the response before sending, send the response now, do not send a response. I can also propose a new time and say tentative, but you know what, this other time works a lot better for me. Or I can decline it and say I cannot make that time, but I'm proposing to meet an hour later, or whatever it is. So these are my options. It's best not to just click accept. Some people, if it's been sent to 100 people, they don't want to know. They don't want a response sent. But again, if you want to make a comment, click edit the response before sending and tell them something, and then click send, and they'll get the response back in the email about what details you have or what questions you have about that. If it's a calendar invite, it will come in, and you can just add that calendar right in, and it will show up underneath your calendars when you click here, any calendars that you have accepted. Hope that helped you get started with shared calendars.